We had a great little visit to Delaware Water Gap, and now we're headed back on trail. We were also in Stroudsburg for a little bit. We enjoyed both. Time to get to New Jersey. The cutest little antique store here in Delaware Water Gap. Found some fun goodies there yesterday. Leaving Delaware Water Gap and getting the hell out of Pennsylvania. On to New Jersey! It is week 18 on the Appalachian Trail, and after a crazy, horrendous rainstorm, we are finally leaving Delaware Water Gap and finally saying goodbye to frickin' Pennsylvania. Heck yeah! Leaving Pennsylvania! Goodbye, Pennsylvania! Although I actually really enjoyed our time in Delaware Water Gap, I was so overjoyed to be leaving Pennsylvania and to be back on the trail in New Jersey. Crossing that state line helped me have a huge mental attitude adjustment, and I was rewarded with this view of red F's under a mushroom. I happened to see them, and it was the highlight of my rainy day on trail as we got into New Jersey. I just never get tired of seeing these absolutely adorable, amazing, brightly colored creatures. And the little red F's always seem to come out on rainy, wet days, and so it always made being soggy just a little bit better. And the trail is literally a creek. We had taken an unexpected zero in East Stroudsburg and Delaware Water Gap because of a rainstorm that came through, that we decided it was going to be safer to not be on trail because of how intense it was. This was actually the rainstorm that ended up flooding Vermont, that a lot of our friends who were way ahead of us had to skip Vermont because of. Luckily, since we were just in New Jersey, we were not as affected. However, the trail was pretty wet when we got back on. Some parts of the trail had felt a little bit like a river, but I was already loving New Jersey so much more than Pennsylvania. And I mean, look at these views. Who knew that New Jersey was so freaking beautiful? Before stepping foot into New Jersey along the Appalachian Trail, I admit that I had some preconceived notions about this state, but within just a few miles, all of those were changed. Look at how cool and green this amazing caterpillar is. I think one of the most beautiful things that I have learned from through hiking the Appalachian Trail is that so many places are so different than we and I think that they are. I never knew that New Jersey had all of these wild and beautiful places, and I'm so excited that my mind was changed and that I learned more about it. That first day in New Jersey, we hiked about 18 miles to the beautiful Crater Lake where we stopped for the night and camped. It does look like now in 2024 that you are no longer allowed to camp there, but in 2023 you were still allowed to camp there, and we absolutely loved this beautiful spot, and getting to sit by the lake and enjoy our dinner was the perfect way to end the day.
We have two stupid
Hiker trash on a rock. I loved getting to eat outside and enjoy views like this as we were enjoying our camp dinner for the night. A treat for treats. And of course, this view would not have been complete without a treat from town. And this view is a treat too. And so are the people I'm with.
Aww.
No matter what the day had looked like, good or bad, when they ended like this, it reminded me about how lucky I was to be out here and soaking up every moment. And I know there's like 3 different videos of the sunset, but it was just too beautiful to not keep capturing how the colors changed as the night went on. And I went to bed that evening thinking about just how grateful I was to be on the trail, to be out of Pennsylvania, and to be hiking through the absolutely beautiful state of New Jersey. And being in New Jersey meant that hopefully we could start deli blazing soon. And we know that I love to eat. When we got up the next morning, we enjoyed a slow morning at camp. By this point in the trail, I had given up cooking, and I was now officially cold soaking my oatmeal in a Talenti jar. And honestly, on those warm, muggy mornings, I really loved cold oatmeal. So shout out to Talenti for making a great cold soak jar. Although view-wise and mostly rock-wise, New Jersey was better than Pennsylvania, it was a super hot day, and I was definitely feeling being in the heat. It was pretty rough. Apparently, this is Sunrise Mountain, and while the view is beautiful, what I like the most about this pavilion is that it is providing shade and benches so that I can lay down. It has been a hot day. So the shade of this, chef's kiss. And obviously the bugs are out because the bug net is back. But I am loving New Jersey more than Pennsylvania, so it's a win. And a few miles later, we stumbled upon the Barbie Privy. We discovered the pink privy in New Jersey. I, of course, made Barbie pose in the privy. This is awesome. The Barbie Privy was definitely a highlight of the day, and we didn't know where it was, so we were glad that we happened to stop there. I would like to swim in that lake. The thing about New Jersey is that you're never in the woods for very long, and soon we had stumbled upon a state park. High Point State Park. Gonna go get me a stamp. And of course, if it was during business hours, I was stopping in every state park, national park, all of them for stamps for my passport book. The point that you're enjoying in this video is the highest point in New Jersey.
Trying to get in your picture.
Well, then stay right there. The highest point of New Jersey. Now granted, the highest point in New Jersey is only about at 1,800 feet, but it was still cool to reach this marker as we were walking down the trail. And of course, the little tower, it was free to climb up, so what's climbing up a few more hills, mountains, stairs? Look at these mothies! They must be laying eggs or something, because all of them have these little brown things on them. Look at all of them!
They're like little cocoons.
The moth
Probably the
babies!
cocoons they can hatch out of, huh? Yeah.
Although I didn't love sweating in the warm weather, I did love all of the fun critters and plants that it brought out, like the moths you just saw, and these fun tree shroomies. I won't say that New Jersey was completely devoid of rocks, but I will say that there was a lot less little stabby ones on my feet. And we did get graced with some of the boardwalks, which actually were kind of cool. Although I will say that sometimes I didn't like them because some of them were not super maintained. And then we somehow weaved a little bit out of New Jersey into New York.
To Unionville, New York.
We had gone into Unionville because Perby was picking up some new shoes. Again, hopefully these worked better. And then, of course, we were going to go get some food because if you're in town, food is always a glorious thing. One of these was some kind of chicken pizza, and the other one was like a quesadilla pizza, and it was delicious. After grabbing our pizza, I had to go get some fresh chocolate milk from the little general store down the road. It was my new treat to myself to try and find all of the little places that had local chocolate milk. If it was local, then I got it, because it was always delicious and cold. After our quick little stop in town, we headed back out on the trail, and we were in this kind of boggy area. There might be a better proper name for it, but it was really beautiful, also super duper buggy, but mainly beautiful. At camp that night, we saw our second bear of the trail. It was me who had first spotted him, and he was pretty bold.
Hey!
After lots of hollering, we finally got him to leave the shelter area.
This is the trail this morning. I thought we were done with these in New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, but I guess New Jersey has some in store for us too. Time to climb.
Even though New Jersey was also gracing us with rocks, at least we got a break from time to time with these really super cool boardwalks. I loved how you could just see it was such a different environment and climate for critters, and even though I didn't like the bugs, it was cool to see them out here. And also just, I don't walk a lot of trails that are more boardwalks. I walk a lot of dirt trails, so it was just cool to be walking on something that was different than hard-packed dirt. And then we know I always love the suspension bridges. I think that there's just something about the architecture of them that I find really fascinating. And I also loved enjoying them when it wasn't raining. What do you know? In New Jersey, we hit so many roads, and we were hitting another one, so we were stopping for a treat.
Heaven Hill There's ice cream and a bakery. So it sounds like heaven to me, especially because it's only 10 o'clock and I've already sweat through my clothes like 3 times. Whew. A treat from Heaven Hill Farm.
This treat was not life-changing, but it was still absolutely delicious, and it was the fuel that we needed to make the giant climb that was coming up next.
Well, nothing like an emergency orthodontics trip on the trail. Thank you all, Family Orthodontics, y'all are the best.
As we had been getting closer to Warwick, New York, one of my wires in the brackets had come undone and it was stabbing me in the mouth. So when we got to Warwick and this was happening, my options were to go get a wire cutter and try and get somebody to cut it out of my mouth, or to try and find the local orthodontist. So I was able to find the local orthodontist and they were able to squeeze me in and pull out my bracket. Luckily, we had planned on staying in Warwick anyways so that we could enjoy the thru hiker tradition of watching and staying at the drive-in. The sound wasn't great and the weather we could tell was about to be wild, but it was still really cool to do this.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it because it was raining so hard a minute ago. So yesterday we got into Warwick, New York, which if you don't know, Warwick has this iconic spot on the AT where there's a drive-in and they let hikers camp there and we get to watch the movies. So last night Barbie and I set up our tent and all of our friends set up our tents and we watched movies at the drive-in until it poured down rain. And then we all hid in our tents and the tent got a little bit soaked, but it is what it is out here. It happens. Yesterday I also had to make a little bit of an emergency run to the orthodontist. I had a permanent retainer in my mouth that popped loose yesterday when I was eating in town, and luckily I was in town, and a sweet trail angel, Josie, gave me a ride to the local orthodontist and they were able to fit me in, and I'm just so grateful that they were able to help me, because otherwise I would have that wire stabbing me in the mouth for the next few hundred miles until I could either figure out somewhere to go or until I got home. So small towns, you have my heart. Thank you all, and I'm super grateful for that. Yeah, the drive-in was fun until it rained on us, and then this morning as we were packing up, we realized we were going to get rained on again. So we packed up really quickly and made a rush to a bagel spot that was right down the road and hung out and ate some yummy New York bagels at bagel time. And I got some inserts for my shoes because the shoesies are not doing good. They're almost at 900 miles. Don't do that, friends. Don't let your shoes get that bad. But I've done really bad about trying to figure out where I'm going to be and getting them shipped in time. So, and I wanted to make it through Pennsylvania without switching shoes. I didn't want to destroy a new pair of shoes. So anyways, the shoes are doing rough, but I just have to make it to Kent, Connecticut. I'm currently in Warwick, so I've got like another 100 miles. So hopefully they will make it. And yeah, we were able to skip out on some of the rain this morning, the worst of it. It's still sprinkling right now. But yeah, we're gonna cross the New Jersey-New York state line today, and we're gonna hit up a creamery because I am a food blazer. And yeah, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a rainy day. It's gonna be a humid day, but I got some inserts for the shoes, so hopefully my feet won't hurt so bad. And yeah, we're gonna make the best of it, because it's always a new day.
So we weren't officially in New York yet. We had been kind of weaving in and out between New Jersey and New York, but we would be crossing the state line later that day.
We're also supposed to hit some more fun rocks today as we exit New Jersey and head into New York. Though we hit Fun Rocks yesterday, the stairway to heaven. And if the stairway to heaven actually looks like that, I will not be going. But yeah, so almost slipped. So yeah, supposedly we'll get more fun rocks today. So, yay. Not.
So remember how a few minutes ago I said that I liked the boardwalks? I don't like them as much when they're wet because they are super slick, and honestly, that feels more dangerous to me than just walking on the trail. But anyways, I appreciate the boardwalks for not having to make me walk in the swampy areas. But yeah, when they were wet, they are a bit treacherous, so be careful, friends. And then we officially left New Jersey and stepped into New York, another state down on the Appalachian Trail, and still many more to go, but that's okay, because we're loving it again out here. I had also stereotyped New York a little bit, but the nature out here is freaking beautiful.
New York, so far you are beautiful. When it's been raining so much that this is not a creek. This is in fact the trail.
My little 5'2" self did not love this rebar climb, but made it up, so.
Cock thruster! What's it? Cock thruster? Cock thruster! I'd like to morph into that nickname.
After I enjoyed this view and Barbie hollered at our friends, we finally got to Belleville Farms Creamery, and it was absolutely delicious. And we had dessert first, and then Barbie ran to the nearby hot dog truck.
How's that wiener in your mouth?
Okay.
Top dogs, hot dogs. After ice cream, of course, because life's too short and you have to eat dessert first.
And we, of course, enjoyed some real food while sitting outside and also enjoying the view because, again, we're food blazers and we're enjoying every little deli that we can while we're in New York. And it doesn't have to be a deli. It can be a hot dog stand or an ice cream place, too, because we love it all. Like New Jersey, I was also really loving New York and its natural beauty. I never expected New York to have such natural beauty, but I guess that's because I always think of the city.
Fitzgerald Falls!
That night, we camped near Fitzgerald Falls and we fell asleep to the sound of the waterfall. Talk about wonderful, soothing white noise. It's never better than the real thing out on the trail. And of course, that also meant that we woke up and enjoyed this beautiful fall as the first part of our day before it got even wetter. I don't remember where this crossing was, but it was pretty deep, but we luckily were able to go upstream and find a tree to kind of hold onto as we crossed, and Barbie was sweet enough to let me use him as leverage to climb up out of the water, and then I was able to use my trekking poles to keep going through. I also at this point had not done that many creek crossings, so I was wearing my sandals, but there are future ones where I just go straight in with my shoes for better grip.
New York, you are beautiful.
I've only ever been to the city in New York, and so truly these views were shocking and beautiful.
Please enjoy this. We just had to do our first waist-deep river crossing, like probably a mile ago, maybe 2 miles ago. I don't know. That was fun. We're soggy. The bug net is on. I pulled it off so that my face could breathe a little bit, but the bugs are rampant. Mosquitoes are rampant. But New York, you're beautiful. But you do still have rocks. So if someone tells you that Pennsylvania, after Pennsylvania, the rocks are over, they're damn liars. Don't believe them. But it does get prettier. So. And actually the river crossing felt great because it's so humid. I have sweat dripping. So the river was a nice cool off.
When we got to the point on the trail called the Lemon Squeezer, we kind of had to toss our packs over so that we could get through without completely destroying them.
The lemon squeezer. Well, I'm about to break purity today because I don't think I can do this climb. I think I'm going to take the Blue Blaze around it because this looks horrible. And when you're 5'2", this just is not doable.
Okay, so what I ended up doing is I tossed my pack up at the top and then I climbed it without my pack on because really I can climb this. It's just with that 30 pounds pulling me backwards, it just made this a little bit more difficult than I wanted to. I'm telling you, it looks like it doesn't make a difference when you're 5'2", but I promise you, the shortness and the height of somebody and the length of their arms and legs, it matters. So anyways, I did it, but without scale.
With torrential rain, but this is beautiful.
And then we got closer and closer to Bear Mountain State Park in New York. We didn't have service, so we didn't know that the park was closed until we got all the way to the top, and it was absolutely and completely empty. Blueberries on the trail. Bear Mountain. We'll be hitting the fire tower in just a little bit.
I can see the road. You can see the road on the far Oh, okay.
There was once again some really bad storms that had taken out some stuff in Bear Mountain State Park. We didn't have any issue traversing it, but I could understand why it was closed for normal state park travelers. But honestly, I didn't want to not be safe, but I'm glad that we didn't realize that the park was closed and that we still got to go through it, because this state park was absolutely beautiful and I really, really enjoyed it. We had also ran back into our friend Trail Jesus, and so it was super fun to go through this section with him and catch back up with him and all of his trail stories since we had last seen him. This was on our way to the top of Bear Mountain, and it was kind of eerie to see everything so quiet because it was the middle of summer, and in summertime you barely ever see state parks that are deserted. So this is when we figured out that the park was closed because we got service at the top, and by this point it was really too late for us to turn around, so we just kept going. And once we got to the top, they were doing some construction, and again it felt very weird, but also very unique to be experiencing an empty park. We did try to use the bathrooms at the top and get some snacks from the vending machine, but because everything was out, there was no electricity, so we couldn't get in. But that was okay. We enjoyed this absolutely stunning view of the Hudson River on our way down. New York, you have officially won me over, and I hope to one day come back and explore more of the hiking trails you have to offer. And another beautiful thing about the park being closed is that nobody had eaten the berries. And so with Trail Jesus leading the way as a little berry monkey, we enjoyed little fresh berry snacks all down Bear Mountain State Park. While I am pretty good at identifying flowers, I have not learned how to ID my berries yet, and so I wouldn't trust these if we were on our own, but since TJ knew what they were, we enjoyed these sweet snicky snacks that Mother Nature provided for us. And then after going through more deserted parts of Bear Mountain State Park, we made it to the Trailside Zoo.
Trailside Museum and Zoo is not open because of the storms. The Trailside Zoo that a lot of thru hikers look forward to in New York is not open, and we don't get to go. Sad. But we still get to walk by it, so that's pretty cool.
I was pretty disappointed that the zoo was closed, but I completely understood for the safety of the animals why it was closed. It's just so hard to not have a continuous trail the entire time. But I did walk all the way to the gate just to make sure that it was closed.
Sadness. We have to use the bypass.
So around the Trailside Zoo we went until we were crossing the Bear Mountain Bridge across the Hudson River. This was one of my favorite things that we did in New York. I absolutely loved this. I thought it was so cool to be walking on this iconic and beautiful bridge and seeing this view of the Hudson River. Due to the storms, this bridge had actually been closed a few days prior, and hikers were having to try and figure out a way around. But lucky for us, it was back open by the time that we crossed, and we were able to cross it and enjoy all the views on it. We were with Trail Jesus, so after we crossed the bridge, it was super easy to get a hitch because he has some kind of magical hitching powers. And we were taken into Peekskill, New York because we were spending the night before we headed into New York City the next morning. But first we made a quick pit stop at the Bruised Apple Books in Peekskill, and this absolutely adorable bookstore was one of my favorite bookstores that I got to explore on the trail. The trail made me start missing books. And yeah, that's a wrap on week 18 on the AT.